Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you've had a joyous week and life has been kind since we all last met. I'm doing well. I know I shared big news last time, but I'm doing well. I'm looking after myself, sleeping well, eating good foods. I'm in process in terms of what treatment is coming my way. And I have to say, mostly feeling incredibly optimistic. I think, sometimes these unfortunate things happen to us in life, but if we can look for the goodness, because there's always goodness, there's always learning opportunities. For me personally, it's making all the difference in the world. So in case you're concerned for me, please know I'm genuinely doing well. Of course, there's a few tears here and there and hurdles to overcome, but by and large, I'm traveling really well through this process. So welcome back. Welcome, Michael.
Oh, well, greetings to you, Jackie, and greetings to all our listeners. It's going to be lovely, Jackie, in the sense, out of some difficult circumstances that you're now facing in life, for you to be just making the comments that you've made to the listeners, the people listening, because everyone, I'm sure, to some degree or other, it mightn't be exactly the same situation as you're experiencing, but has been faced with challenge, quite significant challenges in their lives, or they're also, if they haven't, they're thanking their lucky stars, but probably realising that their turn might come. Yeah, it's not inevitable, but for many people there'll be difficult circumstances similar to yours that arise, and the fact that you've are doing this work like we all are doing these podcasts, and then putting in your circumstances and lining it up with the material, I think will be very beneficial to everyone listening. It's got that personal touch of well, it's all right just saying the words. If you have major health problems, draw on the teachings and things like that. It all sounds warm and fuzzy, but then it's a different thing when the person finds themselves in that situation, like you currently do. To the mind wants to run riot, doesn't it? The emotions, as you say, geez, here and there. It's all unavoidable. It's all unavoidable, that natural human reaction. The body reacts for you and for the listeners, as far as I understand it all, and from my own experience as well. But we have a fantastic backstop to fall back on to guide us through those tears and the uncertainties and doubts and that are there. So they won't go away. They're there. But how we deal with them is the critical thing I'm trying to point out here. Does that make sense, Jackie?
Yeah, it really does. It's so curious too, because here we are with this project and teaching and trying to live this to the best of our ability, but none of us ever really knows how we are going to respond until something really serious lands in our lap. Like you
Yeah.
can always say, oh, I'm philosophical. I have a really broad context for hardship in life. But that doesn't mean you know how you're going to respond when that hardship lands right in your lap and you have to deal with it. So it's kind of been really curious. It's like I've been my own experiment. I'm watching the confronting news roll in and I'm watching my response and my reactions. And, you know, by and large, it's been really good. It's almost like I'm surprised. It's like I'm looking at myself sideways saying, oh my goodness, you're doing all right with this girl. Like, not bad. it's it's early weeks, but I
Yeah.
feel up to a really good start.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Jackie, that's lovely. Just remember to keep it up, because things might get a bit, not as chirpy in that sense. But everything you just said there again is 100% spot on. So, as far as I can see, in the comments you just made then, and the earlier one a few minutes ago, is all looking at it the way I would have expected or hoped you would look at it in the light of the knowledge that you've accumulated.
And just one other sentiment I feel to share with everyone. It's curious, like all my beautiful friends and work colleagues and, extended family, everybody means so well and there's beautiful messages of love and support. But it's so interesting and surprising to me how many people let me know that they're so angry to hear my news. They're so angry on my behalf that I'm having to face this journey with breast cancer. And, that's never once for me personally entered my mind. Like, yes, it was a shock, and I didn't think that the doctor was going to tell me that's what I had. So there was shock there. But anger for me has never once been a response. It's just been one of those things of, oh, okay, yep, really bad things happen to human beings from time to time, and it could be any array of things. Why would I be exempt from any manner of those things which can inflict the human condition? So I think for me, maybe the reason I think I'm making such great headway in terms of managing and digesting this experience is because there's acceptance straight up. I'm not battling with the outcome. I accept the outcome. And of course, I'm trying to do everything humanly possible to make and keep myself well and, explore all options of treatment that are available. I just think when you're not fighting against the diagnosis, you just accept it and go with it, then you're thinking, okay, well, this is kind of unfortunate and I wish this wasn't happening, but it is. So what can I do? What can I learn from? What can I do better? What can I understand and comprehend? And how do I get through this in the most graceful possible way? So it's not about denying or suppressing like sad emotion. If the emotion comes, I let it out, and it does come from time to time. But by and large, it's been positive, and I don't feel angry or cross. I've just quickly accepted it's my circumstance right now, and I'll just move through it day by day, week by week. It's all we can do.
Again, excellent, Jackie. Pure truth. Acceptance in all aspects of life is critical for anyone to deal with whatever they're dealing with. Eventually, every human being, leaving aside the physical aspect of it, is going to have to examine very carefully and closely what the beliefs and opinions and likes and desires and so on reside in their heart and in their mind. And they're going to have to look at it critically under the microscope of truth, and then admit to themselves, accept that they've taken on false beliefs and ideas, and then unless you do that, unless you admit it to yourself, unless you realise and in that sense accept it, you got no chance of altering it or doing anything about it. I'm sure that's clear. So, like, it's a simple one with alcoholics or drug addicts. While they keep denying that they got a problem, an addiction, yet no one's ever going to be of any help to them, nor are they help to themselves, until they say, I am an alcoholic or a drug addict, and I'm in a bad way, and I need help. Well, then it's genuine, and they will seek people or find people that will be able to help them out. We're doing the same with these podcasts, Jackie. For all the people listening are saying in their own way, I've botched up in a certain way I've been thinking or living or acting or behaving in my life. And that was unavoidable, in my 20s or 30s or 40s and before I had any knowledge. But now that I'm getting this new knowledge, well, then it behoves me to start doing something about it. Or if you don't, well, you're just going to continue on your merry way the way you have been. Same old, same old. So my understanding and experience over 30 years, Jackie, of doing this work and working with people is that everyone that comes to any of my sessions or is listening to these podcasts has woken up and they're realising that there's some issues in my life. Mightn't be as traumatic as yours. I got breast cancer, or in mine years ago, I need open heart surgery, but it's just, there's something upsetting them, something, they're not at ease. And they want to find out why. And then to do that, you look at, you explore this knowledge, and that gives you an understanding then why, and then it gives you an understanding of, well, how can I change? What can I do to bring about these changes? So all of these podcasts that we've been doing, and the good news for you, Jackie, and listeners, is we're starting chapter 18 today, the first part of chapter 18, the
Excellent.
last chapter in the work. So I better get on with it, Jackie.
Yes.
But all your comments have been beautiful, and I'm sure all our listeners um, would be finding them very useful, whatever way it's resonating with them. So as I said, greetings to you, greeting to all our listeners. So today we begin podcast 36, everyone, being part 1 of chapter 18, the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's titled Liberation Through Renunciation. So I just want to pause there, Jackie, so make sure everyone's understanding. Liberation, that means freedom from the bondage of being a mortal human being, limited human being, to um, um, to becoming a pure, a realized entity eventually. So even anywhere along the line, and it's all got to come about through renunciation, which simply everyone understands as letting go or surrendering or renouncing, a renunciation. So in other words, we're looking here now in this teaching at letting go false and untrue beliefs and opinions and expectations and desires and so on. That's the big transformation. And that's what will free us, liberate us from the world of what's called Maya, the world of illusion, the world of bondage. And one commentator puts it slightly different or very differently in his title to chapter 18. He says the teaching summarized. So it's obviously both of those. So this last chapter 18, which is the longest chapter in the book, and I'll elaborate on that for a minute, um, is a summary of everything that we've covered one way or another, with other bits added onto it to sort of top it all up and finish it off. All right.
Sounds
So,
good.
so, so because it's the longest chapter in the Gita, Jackie and listeners, I've decided, and it's got so much packed in it, as I've just outlined, I've decided to cover it over 4 podcasts. That'll take us up to podcast 39, which will then leave us with the final podcast 40, which will be like an opportunity to bring it all to a conclusion. Give you plenty of time to say whatever. I'll say a few things and we'll wind it all up that way. So does that sound all right, Jackie? Make sense?
It sounds fabulous.
Okay, good. You can't beat a vote from your own daughter, fellas, or people, folk. All right. So now in this 18th chapter of the Great Teachings of Krishna, we find a concise synopsis of the entire Gita, roaming over many topics, giving us everything in a nutshell, that all beings will eventually become enlightened by renunciation. That's the process. If you don't let go, you're just going to keep doing whatever you've been doing, thinking whatever you've been thinking. So we need to renounce all of the actions, desires and attachments that impede the soul's progress. Remember I said at the very start, Arjuna realised that the battle on that battlefield was for his own soul. Yeah. The soul doesn't need to be saved or anything, but it needs to be released from being trapped inside our um, bodies, our entities. So until we become realised, that's when the process is reference that the soul is set free. Yeah. The great scriptures put it beautifully, poetically, Jackie and listeners. They say at liberation time, when the soul's liberated, as it's returning back home to its source for unity, um, the celestial choirs, the angels, everything rejoice and sing on its way home. It's a beautiful little sentiment that always appealed to me when I've been doing this study. Lord Krishna again divides his subject of enunciation into the energies and qualities of the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So if you think about it, Jackie and listeners, over, I think, chapter 13, when the gunas was introduced as it was referred to earlier, different stages, but just as gunas. And then in the whole chapter was on gunas. Well, since then, every chapter, 15, 16, 17, and this one as well, keeps making further references to the gunas to help us keep understanding more deeply how they operate and the significance of them. They're what rule. They are what rules every human being. It's the desires there, and whichever guna is operating in the person is how it manifests or doesn't manifest. If you tackle all the issues sattvically or rajasically or tamasically, well, that's the outcome, and that's what makes the nature of the personality of every being. And the comments you've made today, and when you informed the people of your issue, are all coming from a sattvic aspect. They're truthful and they're honest and they're pure. You're leaving all the emotions and mind and that everything out of it. Yeah? You're saying, oh yeah, I cried. Well, that's emotional. Yeah, but that's not what you're referring to. That's not what you're talking about. So the comments are sattvic, pure sattva. All right.
Mhm.
So Arjuna then in the very first verse of chapter 18 asks Krishna, what's the difference between the two words that are commonly used for renunciation? And I'll give the Sanskrit words so we sort of get them out of the way a little bit. But there's two aspects to renunciation. One's giving up and one's abandoning. And they come from the same root word, but in Sanskrit, but they have big variation in their meaning, which I'll elaborate on now, Jackie. So in Sanskrit, the two words for renunciation that are used are sannyasa, and from that comes the word sannyasin, the total renunciant. You see pictures, they've just got a loincloth and a stick and a bowl, and they've renounced the world and all activities in it. And then there's, and some people think erroneously that that's the path they've got to follow. So they sell their houses or give away their cars or do all that. Well, it'll be clear in what I described that that's not what we're on about. And the other Sanskrit word, excuse me, is tyaga. Tyaga, with both of those words, sannyasa and tyaga, having the same root meaning, which I've just outlined, to give up or to abandon. And Krishna replies that sannyasa, the giving up of selfish actions based on desires and outcomes, is one kind of renunciation, whilst tyaga, the abandoning or relinquishing the fruit of action, is another kind. So one's giving up all action and one's continuing actions, but giving up the desire for the fruit or the outcome, surrendering that. So then, because that brings in an egoic aspect to it of you doing it, and I want this result, and I expect it, and I demand it, and I'll put in a big effort, and all of those sorts of things. All right. So Krishna makes it very clear that we must act. He said that to him in chapter 2 or 3, 3 and 4, I think, karma, action. He said you must act. Yeah. But I'm going to teach you over the course of these teachings how to act and why it's important to act differently to how you've been acting all your life up until now. So Krishna says we must act, and that it's not the activity itself, but the selfish desire for the rewards of the action, of the work, and of our life. That people say, oh, I've devoted my whole life to this. I've put all my life and energy into this, whether it's a marriage or a business or whatever it might be. So he says, and then on a very lovely note, Jackie and listeners, he reminds Arjuna, that's us, that renunciation is not a negative process. Many people shudder at the surrender or give up or renounce or let go. Everyone wants to keep hanging on to everything. Like we're hoarders of all of our desires and mind, thoughts and all that sort of stuff. So he says, look at it differently. He says it's not a hardship. It's not a negative process, but rather it's a positive and becomes a voluntary process of giving up what's false, untrue, and unreal. Now, if you ask everyone on the planet, do you want to let go everything in you that's untrue and unreal? Everyone would fall over themselves saying, yeah, I want to give it all up. I want to give it all up. But when you explain to them what they've got to do, well, then they say, oh, no, I don't think I do want to give it all up. Yeah, it sounds like too hard. So there's work involved, Jackie and listeners. But that's all right. We do work in every other area. So why wouldn't we do some work on improving the quality of our life and our own happiness and joy, and thereby everyone else's around us as well? All making sense, Jackie?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I
a lovely sentiment.
see you smiling nicely there. All right, I'll just go on another little bit and then give you an opportunity if there's something you want to comment on in particular. So Krishna further advises Arjuna that sacrificial action, purification, which means living by the divine teachings, what we're all doing in the stage, studying the teachings of Krishna, devotion and charity are the highest of human activities and should never be abandoned. And the reason he stresses should never be abandoned, and he wants us to do this work, is because it's through doing the work and starting to do it according to the divine teachings, the truth, we can start proving to ourselves that, hey, this works. This makes me a better person, a happier person, a less stressful, anxious person, all of those sorts of things. So he says, don't abandon them because you're not going to learn. So if you just take yourself up to a cave in the Himalayas, well, you got no one pushing your buttons, and so you got no reactions. So you said at the very beginning, until this happened to me, it was just something that could happen, or I know it's happened to other people. But until it actually happens to us, we can't deal with it. We don't know what it really is. So if we hide away in a forest or up in the cave somewhere, which is okay for some people, but they're people who are pure realized beings, and their role is to send out huge amounts of sattvic energy to the population. But others that are misguided and just say, oh, like life's too hard, I'm just going to run away from it all. Well, that's not renunciation. That the actual fact would say that's wimping it. That's being a coward and running away, not facing and dealing with what you need to deal with. So he goes on, or I'll go on in my notes here to say that this leads to the final renunciation where Krishna says, and this is a quote from him, the individual soul leaves behind all worldly entanglements to join me, whilst all the others linger in the wilderness of Prakriti, the wilderness of Maya, the wilderness of illusion. So he's saying, you must act. That's a vital part of my whole creation, but you must act according to my laws, the laws of Dharma, the laws of truth. All the great masters refer to that, and all your problems will eventually sort themselves and go away. So anything you'd like to comment on there, Jackie?
Oh, I'm just having a giggle on one hand, thinking that our youngest daughter has just finished Year 12 exams, and of course during that time was a stressful period. Those of you with kids and you've supported them through Year 12, you know exactly what I mean. But
You
at
were
one
in
point,
year 12 once, Jackie.
yes,
I
yes.
remember.
But there were quite a few times where there were tears from her and distress, and I'm not sure if I can study enough. I don't think I'm going to get a good enough mark. We had this exact conversation that actually all you can do is prepare. Whatever hours you've got left in your day and your week preceding each exam, you prepare the best you can. You turn up, you deliver, you do what you can do in that 3-hour block or however long it is, and you let go. Like, it just is what it is from there. You have no control over the outcome. You have no
Yeah.
control at that point, how well you're going to do. You just prepare as best you can, you do the best you can, and you deal with whatever occurs after that. So on a very practical, tangible level, it's been a conversation we've had many, many times over the last few weeks.
Yeah, well, in your case, you said the same thing. In her case, which is totally different, but you're advising her the same thing or reminding her the same thing. So, um, and that applies to every human being, 8 billion on the planet currently, and uh, there's 8 billion issues that they're specifically dealing with at this very moment, but a whole host of others that are lying dormant, ready to pop their heads up whenever the situation lends itself to that happening.
Mm.
All right?
Actually, one other thing too, I'm just thinking back to a little exercise, and I'm trying to recall if I shared this already on one of the podcasts. But a few weeks ago, I got asked to make some sort of like a group activity in a formal presentation at work. And I had something in mind and I delivered it. And I was a little bit nervous right before delivering it, thinking, actually, I've made a mistake in choosing the activity that I have. I don't think it's going to land particularly well with this group of people. You know, in the planning phase, I felt confident it was the right activity, but right moments before delivering, I just thought, no, I've miscalculated this. This is not going to end well. But it's too late. I'm right there. There's a room full of 30 people. Couldn't think fast enough to do an alternate activity. So I just had to run with what was planned. It didn't land with the group the way I wanted it to land. It didn't land at all in the way I planned it to land, but it kind of went okay. But I was disappointed because I just thought it was really far from how I wanted it to be received. But in the days that followed, I had so many people come up to me or send me emails or messages on Teams thanking me and sharing what they learned or what they observed from the activity. So I could never have planned that in a million years. You know, I was delivering something expecting a certain outcome. That outcome did not happen. And for a moment there, while I thought, oh, I think that's a bit of a failure and a flop, you know, don't ever do that again, Jackie. But actually, it sort of turned into its own beautiful success. So that's just another really nice way to think. Sometimes we don't know the benefit of things until it just lands and it'll run its course. All we can do is deliver things in life with our very best intention, with the aim of doing good or contributing well. The outcome will be what the outcome will be, and it's not always what we think or plan it to be.
Yeah, well, it's a lovely little example again, Jackie. Yeah, just quickly, adding a few comments of my own to go with that would be, um, from that account anyway, the original intention was pure. Then I suspect ego got in there at that last minute saying, I don't think, this isn't right. But then when it turned out, when you presented it and then you got the feedback, it turned out that your first reason for putting it on or wanting to run with it was correct. So it's very subtle, but that's just a suggestion as to what I think sort of happened in that situation. The universe knew that with your original intention, that was the correct one or the truthful one. Then when you wanted to override it, the universe, in a sense, didn't override you because you went ahead and did it, but it overrode you in the sense that you thought the outcome was a poor one. Yeah, and that's the outcome is like what we talk about in this material, the fruits of the action, the reward or what you expect to come from it, the outcome. So in this case, it wasn't money, but you thought this is what I hope the people will get out of it. And then you felt a bit disappointed because you thought, well, I misread the room and it didn't sort of work out the way I thought. But then you got feedback that said, no, you didn't misread the room at all. And it wasn't the wrong presentation. It was actually everything was perfect. But I know it's sort of, I'm talking round and around, but does it make any sense to you,
Yeah, it does.
listeners?
It's like a big cosmic joke, really. I mean, you just have to laugh, don't you? Because we often have very fixed ideas on how we think something will turn out and how we think the benefit should look.
Yeah.
Sometimes the benefit comes in other ways.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
I find that frequently over with the teachings that I go in with a set thing in my mind. Oh, this is what I want to teach. I think this will really grab everyone. It's going to transform everyone. Anyway, it goes all over the shop, and it ends up being the best session, being the best session. So, always best to. That's the notion, Jackie, and listeners, and I'll refer to that on the next page. Anyway, that's what being in the now truly means. You learn to read the room very quickly because you're pushing aside more and more what I want to do or what I want to say and what I want the outcome to be. That's too rigid, and it's we've all got to have a plan. Like if you're doing a presentation or I'm doing this podcast, I prepare some material. But, I didn't know you were going to be saying what you're saying, and I never know any time what you're going to be saying, any more than you know what I'm going to be saying. When you say, oh, here's Dad, he's going to say something here. Yeah, in the end, as we get better at it, we learn that when we're operating from Buddhi, and when you're operating from Buddhi, there's no doubt, no confusion, you just run with it. Okay. All right, I better run with it, Jackie.
Yes.
So having made clear to Arjuna that renunciation is essential, Krishna goes on to explain that renunciation can be of three kinds, depending upon the guna that dominates the individual's personality, their moods, and their states of mind. So this is the critical aspect of the gunas all the time coming up, Jackie. And so he's saying, if you're going to let go, well, this is how the three guna types will let go. Tamasika Tyaga is relinquishing obligatory action out of one's ignorance, confusion, and delusion. They basically just don't do anything, Jackie, mentally or physically or emotionally. So that's how they relinquish, just by almost total non-action. There's enough there to keep them going, of course, but it's a pretty basic lifestyle. The Rajasika Tyaga relinquishes action from fear. They're worried about the outcome. You were saying, oh, I don't think I'll go with this because it's not going to go over too well. So you could have pulled out, but you persevered and you went. But other people do pull out of fear. Oh, what if I embarrass myself? What if it doesn't work out and I've lost $10,000 or this or that? We've got to be cautious, but if you're operating from a karma aspect, you push through those doubts and those uncertainties. Otherwise, we'd be all like paralyzed. We wouldn't be able to do anything in our lives, would we? And there's lots of people like that, very timid and just don't have a go. They want to, but they haven't got the courage. So there's another aspect of all of this which will come up in the following podcasts. So, but the Sattvika Tyaga, the people from a Sattvic nature renouncing, they perform actions relinquishing attachment to the fruit thereof. And they're doing this conscientiously, performing their obligatory duty in one's life, and it's pure. So when you know what you've got to do from a truthful aspect, you just go ahead and do it. You say it, you do it, and the people that can't handle it, they just can't handle it. But it's pure, and it is of value to the universe one way or another. So all those people who rang you or texted you or whatever, they expressed to you how they valued what you thought was a mistake or an error of judgment on your part. It all makes sense, doesn't it? When whatever issue anyone presents, you can discuss it and take it full circle, where it came from, how it was tackled, and how it should have been tackled if it was tackled incorrectly, and what the two outcomes would be. So when people ask me over the years, prove it to me, prove I've got a soul, prove there's a God, prove this and that, I say, listen, I can't prove anything to anyone. Yeah. All I can do is pass on some truthful teachings, then you put it into practice and you prove to yourself whether it works or doesn't work. That's the process, Jackie. It took me a long time to learn that, because early in the piece, I used to think I could change them, I could teach them, I could persuade them. But now I've come to realise through a bit of sweat and tears that, no, it doesn't work that way. All right.
The second option you describe is a much nicer way to listen to and visualize going forward.
Okay. So Sattvic people, not plagued by doubt, and aware of their true self, operate from their buddhi and are calm and steady in life. And I've explained in detail buddhi on a couple of occasions, and I hope the lady that was wondering what it really meant is understanding it more clearly now. I'm sure she is. They neither shy from the disagreeable nor yearn for the pleasant. So it's not pleasant what you're going through now, but you've got to deal with it. So you've got two ways of dealing with it. Egoically, a lot of tears and emotions and thinking and all that sort of stuff, or using your buddhi, your highest aspect, and dealing with it in a much calmer, sensible, logical way. All good. So these people don't shy away from the disagreeable or yearn for the pleasant. They just do it. That is what truly being in the now or being present means. A lot of people bandy that around now. There's even people running courses and that, be in the now. There's a beautiful book by Eckhart Tolle. But you got to understand what that means, be in the now. Like, what's being in the now? The body or the mind or the emotions? Well, what about the ego? Is that in the now? What about buddhi? Is that in the now? So all of those aspects need to be understood to truly understand what being present or being in the now really means. But in essence, the truth is you need to be in the now. And that means no mental or emotional ideas or desires or precepts or concepts, and just seeing what the situation is, who it is you're talking to, listening to what they're saying, and then reacting accordingly from buddhi. And this,
I'm sitting here, sorry to interrupt, I'm just sitting here at the moment having a lovely feeling. It's almost like the gods are shining on me so beautifully at the moment. Which is probably an odd thing to say, given I've just been diagnosed a few weeks ago with breast cancer. But I just think really for the bulk of the last little bit, there's been such equanimity. I mean, there have been periods of up and down, but by and large, equanimity. And I research how I want to step forward and what my options are and things like that. And my children sort of give me this suspicious side eye looking and trying to assess and work out where I'm coming from. But what if that's risky? What if you do this? What if you don't do that? And I keep trying to say to them, all we can do in life is like understand things to the best of our ability, be really centered and clear and calm, and make our choice forward with the best information we've got at the time and the way inwardly we feel drawn to move forward and instigate. And then from there, you have to let the outcomes go, because there's no guarantee that if I choose this path as opposed to that path, that I'm going to have more success or less success. You just base your way forward based on the information you've got and how you feel. But I have to say, like, I'm just thinking about some medical appointments I've had recently, and it's almost like by the grace of God, they go. Like, I've not been a big person to enter into mainstream medicine, and now I have no choice to some degree to be part of that system. But I have to say, appointments and things have gone so smoothly because I'm just turning up, trying not to be loaded or reactionary, just in the moment, being grateful for assistance and information, responding as things come to hand, stating clearly my preference or not for the situation. And it's all just gone so smoothly. So it's an odd thing to say, but I'm like really feeling like the light of the universe is shining on me very strongly at the moment. It's very beautiful.
well, again, beautifully put. And the reason it's shining on you and the reason you can pick up on it is because of what I've just covered in there, that you're in the now. You're in the now, Jackie, which is beautiful. And and I mentioned about people saying, "I'll prove this to me or prove that to me." You're proving to yourself all the work you've done in your life, in this lifetime, let alone the previous lifetimes, because you've done plenty of work there in that as well, in this area of truth, is all benefiting you greatly now. So that grace of God that you're referring to is commensurate with the amount of effort you've put in, this lifetime in particular, but also the other lifetimes. They all build on each other. And that's enabling you. It's not a fluke or coincidence that you're saying, "Oh, I'm dealing with it this way." People can only say that. I've met plenty of people, and you have as well, I'm sure, and listeners have, of people who have got a similar sort of situation, and they deal with it in all sorts of ways, different to what you're dealing with it. Yeah, and I'm not just saying it because you're my daughter or anything. It's because this is how it operates, everyone. Um, and they cry and they blame everyone, and what if, and poor me, and all this sorts of stuff. As I say, they're natural reactions, but you have to understand they're not true reactions. So then sooner or later you got to take grip of the situation, whatever it is, and come to deal with it the way you're dealing with your situation now, Jackie. And people would, I'm sure, a lot of people listening and watching you and that would be nodding their heads or shaking their heads a bit, saying, "Oh, she's sounding so brave and so composed and all the rest of it." Others will be thinking, "Oh, I wonder if she's just pretending and putting on an act." All of these sorts of things. Well, um, folk, it's genuine. Yeah, there is some angst there and some heartache, and no one can ever avoid that. That's natural. But my observation, Jackie, is you're dealing with it beautifully. Um, and the reason you can be courageous and so clear in your thinking and understanding of it all is because you're drawing on the truthful material that we've been looking at, not just in this teaching, but you've been on many retreats and studied and things like that. So um, it's the reward for all of that is why you're feeling like you are, and being able to recognize that you feel the universe, even in this sort of set of circumstances, is shining on you. Well, I'd put to you, this is the sort of set of circumstances when you want that universe shining on you big time, don't you? Well, it
Yes.
is, and it'll keep shining as long as you keep having that same attitude and same view on it. All right. Well, I'll just finish off the next little bit, Jackie. So he concludes this section in this part of the chapter now, Krishna, by explaining that there's 5 factors or components that contribute to every action, and I'm just going to quickly run through those 5. And he says whether these human activities um, uh, um, be an action of mind, speech, or body, or thought, word, or deed. So whatever you're thinking or acting, saying, and doing, all are under this outline of 5 aspects of action. So he says the undertaking of all action is to transcend it ultimately. So that's important to understand how this process works. So we use the actions to learn from them and then rise above them by understanding how to perform them correctly. So he says the first part of or component of this is pretty obvious. First, you need a body. Can't be any action without it. So not much need to elaborate on that. No body, nothing happens. But then the body, one way or another, carries out the following 4. Second, there has to be a doer, the agent, the arrogating ego, the personality, the mind. It is the centre from where attachment and aversion, joy and misery, the faculty of understanding, our subtle aspect, expresses themselves. If you remember right from the start, Jackie, I've emphasised at the temple, know thyself. So this is talking about this inner part, and I've shown one of my diagrams. That's the engine room of our being. This is where all the action takes place from. Whether they're tamasic or rajasic or sattvic, that's a different aspect, which we'll cover as well, of course. But that's the engine room, the doer, the agent, the actor. Then the third, the senses. The senses, the various energies, the various experiences. So whatever we've thought and seen and looked at and smelt and tasted over all of our life, as well as all of our previous lives, we don't know, but they are all part of it as well, help us deal with the situation that you're dealing with now. Okay. So fourth, there's the effort, the motion or energy involved in the doing, the muscles and the nerves, the prana, the life force. So no use just thinking. We've got to activate it. We've got to put the energy, the effort, the life force into it to bring it about, whatever it might be. Marriage, business, having a baby, whatever, all requires motivation, these aspects that I've outlined. Then we've got the fifth one, the presiding or ruling deity. That can be either the illusionary small self, egoically run, of course, me and my life with all my desires and likes and dislikes, or it can be the high deity, the Buddhi, the true aspect of our being. So this is the picture of the chariot in the Gita. Krishna's, if you look at it, everyone, Krishna's holding the reins of the vehicle, which is our body. We're the vehicle. If Arjuna grabs it, which is most people, the mortal self, well, then the horses can run the chariot anywhere they want to go. So we need firm control of those reins, the mind. And he says, so that's these either one of those deities, your ego or your Buddhi, is manipulating all of these four instruments. Buddhi's telling you your mind and your emotions, or your Buddhi to do this, your body to do that, or your ego's telling them to do this, this or that, or not do this, this or that, or not say this, this or that. It's manipulating all of these instruments, especially the self-created, unseen destiny, your karma, which is latent in all actions. So behind every action, Jackie and listeners, physical, mental or emotional, there's the underlying aspect of karma lying there dormant. And it'll arise as it needs to with whatever the circumstances the being finds themselves in at that particular moment. And so the last couple of lines, Jackie, and I'll be finishing up. A common misapprehension is that the self, the Atma, the soul, is the doer of actions, but it has nothing to do with any of these five factors of action. The soul is like consciousness itself. It does nothing at all, and nothing that the body or the mind or the emotions of the being can affect the soul. It's pure, perfect and complete, always has been and always will be, depending what the body, mind and emotions are doing. They're two separate entities. That'll be clear to you, Jackie, and to everyone listening, I'm sure. So, but he's reiterating and making it very clear. The soul is not the doer. God's not the doer. So that Atma, the soul, performs no acts, no work at all. It is eternal and pure and totally unattached to Prakriti, the realm of matter. So the sense of doership belongs to the ego, deluding the mind that you are an entity separate from Atma. We separate ourselves from God. We say me, Jackie, me, Michael, me, whoever, we're separate and this is what we're going to do and this is what we know and this is how smart we are and this is what we like and we don't like, all of these sorts of things. That's where the doer is in that small mortal self. Okay? And the work we're doing, everyone, is realizing the limitations of that small self, the imperfections of that small self, which I'm sure would be pretty evident to everyone by now, and having a stronger and stronger desire to switch across, to run our lives under the directorship of Buddhi, our true higher self. Okay? And the last line is, spiritually evolved persons understand the true self within and rise above the turmoil and bondage of karma. Okay? Spiritually evolved persons. Now, everyone might be thinking, well, I'm not spiritually evolved. Some might be thinking they are, and they might be. But everyone listening to these podcasts, Jackie, is wanting to be spiritually evolved. That's why we're on this spiritual journey. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because
And evolving, maybe just changing the word to evolving, that's easier for us all to accept as human beings because we are all in evolution.
Yeah, evolving. I'm happy with either. Yeah, evolving will lead to evolved, obviously. So Jackie, I'll just leave the exercise for the people who like doing the exercise. Whenever you remember, I'd like you to observe these five instruments that I've just said, the body and the energy you're putting into it and where the senses are, which senses have been involved and all the rest of it. And in whenever you remember, with every thought or with every word or with every action that you've performed during the course of a day. So a little stock take at the end of the day. Why did I, just like you said with that example you gave with when you were on running a session and you went in prepared and then you changed it. Well, this is the process. Yeah. All of these things were in play there, and it didn't go the way you wanted, but it went better than the way you want. It went the way you wanted at the start, but not the way you thought when you were doing it. Is that okay?
Mhm.
All right. Well, I'm finished there, Jackie. If you've got
Lovely.
anything you'd like to say to finish up,
No, I think we've shared enough, and that's a lovely, full, complete session. So thank you for all of that. Very useful. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will be back with you next week with part 2 of 4 of chapter 18. So
yes,
a
that's
long
right,
one.
Jackie.
Be prepared, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll catch you soon.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.